did you think of the San Diego State game? Give us a breakdown.
Well, again, it's three words: Wilson, Wilson, Wilson. I thought Zach was great. I'm looking at the stats here: 26 35, 303 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Just like it's been all year, just like it will be in the bowl game and every game our team starts and ends with Zach. I thought he was great. I'm happy for him. I think it's a great game for scouts to see, cold weather, all those AFC North type games that we saw last night on Monday Night Football, and he's just throwing darts. I thought he was phenomenal. It was great to see Dax go over 100 yards again. Our defense, again, struggled with the run. We knew it was going to happen. San Diego State runs the ball, plays keep away, followed the pedigree. I just thought this was the difference. And what I want to throw to you, Greg Mattson, is if this game's at San Diego at the old Murph, do we win this game?
I think we still win.
I thought we won because it was at home.
I think we still win. And again, just because of Zach. Outside of that, I don't know. I mean, honestly, because look, that's a great defense. It really is. It's still a very good defense. It was a great defense last year. We put up 3 points. I think that Zach's able to pick them apart a little bit. I mean, they've got a very good secondary, and so I think that without Zach, it's a coin flip if it's at Murphy. But with Zach, I think we still win.
What did you guys think there in the first half? Were you thinking, oh my gosh, this is a rerun of Coastal Carolina?
I thought,
as far as the defense goes,
I thought the same thing. I've had to think in any close game this year. The Houston game or the Boise State game when it was closer for a while, and of course Coastal Carolina. And that is just going to what Greg said. I thought the only way we're going to win this game is because of Zach. They were running up the gut, and then of course, even though their quarterback, I don't think is that great of a passer. When you're able to run the ball like that, play action is going to be open, and guys were open. A couple key stops and key turnovers, so give the defense credit there. But I was thinking in the first half, the only way we're going to win this game is because we have Zach, which seems to be the theme of the game. And I think it's going to be the same thing with the bowl game, unfortunately.
Where does Zach Wilson rank? We've only had, I thought he had a really good freshman year for a freshman, right? Coming right out of high school. He was injured last year, didn't have a great year. He has looked really good this year. Of course, we haven't played a ton of good teams, but we've played a few good teams. His statistics have been incredible. I don't know that he could have really played any better. What's his legacy? I mean, if he leaves, he goes in the first round. What's his legacy here at BYU and at quarterback U?
I think a couple things. Number one, looking at his junior year, I mean, if he were to stay another year, he'd be not just one of the best ever. He might be the best. He's that good. I don't think anybody, even a Young or a McMahon or a Detmer, was as accurate as he is. As accurate, as high as the percentage was for Steve Young, who I think I'm pretty sure he threw well over 70% on completion rate. But nobody that I've seen even Detmer didn't have the arm. And I don't know that I've seen anybody be able to make the throws that he makes. And it's not just his arm strength, but it's the accuracy. A good example of that was that one pass. That pass he made to there were two of them, but the pass he made to the outside in double coverage to Rex, that Rex dropped on the side. That was incredible. I mean, again, it was right exactly in double coverage where it had to be, out in the flat. And that very few people can make that throw. Even in the pros, I don't know how many of them can make that throw that well. He should have had that, right? Is the other one I was thinking of course, was the touchdown pass that Rex laid out for over his shoulder toward the back of the end zone was fabulous as well. But I would say that I think you put him in the top 4. That's what I would say.
Well, I would,
Young, McMahon, Detmer, and
he's the 4th Rushmore.
And Wilson, the 4th Rushmore. That's right.
Yeah.
I'd put him ahead of Sarkisian.
Well, we know
and trying to back in Hall.
Yes. Yeah, as good as those two guys were, I wouldn't say that either of them were the level of those other guys.
So I made a list here of, as you know, I adhere to you guys for the pre-Detmer days, but in my lifetime, post-Detmer, again, it gets kind of a little bit convoluted because guys got the opportunity to play longer, like Max and different things like that. So I made my list because I knew Zach's, the best argument for Zach is best single season because he's clearly looked better this year than any of his other 2 years. So I have a list. I would put Zach 2020 number 1. I would have Steve Sarkisian 96 number 2. Mm-hmm. I would have Beck 06 number 3. You got to remember, Beck's been our highest draft pick since if you want to count Young with the USFL, he probably would have been a first rounder. McMahon went in the first round. John Beck went in the early second round. Mm-hmm. So that's the high draft pick. So I'd go Beck 06 number 3. I got Brandon Doman 4th in 2001. And then I will go Max number 5 with 2009 because he beat Utah. I think 2008 he was also very good, but I give him 09 the edge, even though he beat Oklahoma and he beat Utah. And then number 6, I'd go John Walsh 94. And then remember, when you guys remember, we beat Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl, and there was talk that Walsh was going to go number 1 or number 2 at that point to the expansion draft. It was Carolina and Jacksonville were getting the top 2 picks. And do you remember he went early?
Well,
he was a junior.
One more year.
Walsh. If you remember, it was Bill Walsh, the great 49ers legend, Super Bowl. He was the one that was saying that John Walsh had, what it took.
No, it wasn't.
He praised him and was saying that he was the guy.
Yeah, no, it wasn't us. That's what I'm saying. Outside of BYU people, during that Copper Bowl and against Oklahoma, that's why he left. People were talking that he could go 1 or 2 to Jacksonville or Carolina. Obviously, he didn't. He went, I think, in the 6th round. And Wilson going to the first round is going to be our highest quarterback draft pick since McMahon. No one else has gone in the first round. Again, Young, it's a little bit, with his USFL draft. Beck is going in the 2nd round would be the highest.
Well, Young was still drafted in the NFL. He didn't go, but he was drafted.
He was drafted by Tampa Bay. Yeah.
You know what I think really sets Zach apart is his accuracy at 20 plus yards. That's where he really, I think, sets himself apart from, even a lot of the great BYU quarterbacks that we've had. I mean, there's been other quarterbacks that have had similar, completion percentage, that he has this year, but his accuracy on throws of 20 plus yards is remarkable.
Well, we talked about it. That 3rd down pass in the beginning of the 4th quarter to Milne on the outside right hash on that go route. I mean, it's Aaron Rod. I watched that Packers game. I love watching Rodgers play, and it's that Rodgers ball where it's got to be. It goes with the accuracy because you can't just lead him. It's one thing to actually have to lead a guy. It's another level which NFL guys have to do where they have to partially lead and then throw him open to the back shoulder, not a complete turnaround, but just to that back shoulder. And only the elite guys can make that throw, because you're not leading your guy, you're actually throwing him open. To lead a guy, someone's already open, but to throw that ball on Mills' back shoulder, the way he did it, and on,
well,
it's like you said, downfield accuracy is where he's been awesome.
Yeah,
and one of the things that makes a difference with that also in the offense that has been so frustrating for so many years is when you have a guy that has that accuracy, the thing to remember is it's not just the completion. It's the guy just depending on, if it's thrown behind him a little bit, the problem is, even though he's going to catch it, if you're 3rd and 7 and you're a yard or two short, right? It makes it so that you can't get the first down because the guy's going to be very close to you, right? He's going to be right there and you've got to slow up a little bit or catch it behind you. The difference with Zach is that how many more times, and I know Milne is good and Romney's good, but how many more times has he put the ball exactly where it needs to be, where those guys are able to make the first guy miss, right? Or they're able to get a few more yards because it's put in the right place.
No question. So the yards after catch are
the yak. It's even those little comeback and bubble type screens that they throw to Romney a lot, where he comes back and loops around. If you're not throwing that right, that first guy's got you. You're done. And it's a 2-yard loss. And that's usually what we have with that type of a play. And so the accuracy is very, very important for the yak.
Yeah, that play gives me PTSD with Gary Croton to Kobe Christensen and David Christensen.
Hey, that was his bread and butter at the Bears the year before.
Well, it works great when Luke Staley's your running back and Brandon Doman's your quarterback, and there's this threat, inside the box of those guys running. But to ask you guys, is there anything in the list that you guys would switch? So I go single season. I go Zach, Sark. Doman. Zach, Sark, Beck, Doman, Hall, Walsh.
Yeah, I would change it.
You would change it.
I would definitely change that. I think that I would not put Doman ahead of Max. I would put Max ahead of Doman on that. Doman was good, and he was gritty.
We're going single season, not Max's cumulative work.
I think I'd put Max in there with the Oklahoma win and the Utah win in 2009 over Doman in 2009.
Fair. Yeah, I think
fair.
I think your list is pretty accurate though, Brett. I mean, you had Sark number 2, right?
I had Sark number 2. I mean, he beat 2 top 10 teams.
Absolutely.
And he was
14-1.
14-1. And he's still picking up carnage in that Washington Husky Stadium from our one loss.
Well, I think 11 sacks. I think it was 11 sacks.
Yeah, but look at his 3 wins. I mean, look at those 3 wins. Texas A&M from behind, last minute drive. KL Louis touchdown. That
was the opener, right?
That was the opener.
That was
right. That was the opener. And then the Wyoming game, WAC championship. Remember, we're down. Wyoming takes the safety, so we're down 3. He leads us down. We kick the field goal, and then come and win in overtime. And then the Kansas State game, we're down 2 scores. He leads 2 drives for 2 touchdowns, and then Omar Morgan, of course, makes the big interception. But we were down 2 scores, and he led us to 2 touchdowns. We were down 14-5, I believe. And he led us on 2 consecutive touchdown drives in the fourth quarter. You could argue just because of Sark's success that his year would be better than Zach's in that standpoint. But having a season where you're going to be taken in the first round is kind of tough to be anywhere but number 1.
Sark also had a much better team around him.
Totally.
Right.
True.
I mean, our defense is one of the best defenses we've ever had.
Best secondary.
We've ever had. So there, he had a lot more around him than
Totally.
this team has.
Totally.
I'll note that I drove 20 plus hours from Utah to that Cotton Bowl game, Brett. And one of the greatest moments
I do remember.
in BYU history. To be there live was unbelievable. It was very special.
What was really special was that WAC championship game.
Yes.
There's nothing better than being in a small, rickety stadium with a bunch of drunk Wyoming fans. That was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, that was a highlight. Right?
Yes. No, I thought as a 12-year-old in my Steve Young jersey, I really felt like a one John Voight in the banjos as I was going across. But it was a great memory, and yes, my Cotton Bowl memory is watching that at home and passing up Rose Bowl tickets to see Jake Plummer play Ohio State in the Rose Bowl 2 versus number 4. Because I didn't want to. It was a big game, and because if Arizona State would have won, they would have won the championship because Florida ended up beating Florida State. But anyway, didn't want to miss the Cougar game. Only New Year's Day. Thought we'd get another one this year, but hey, the '96 team was special.
No question. So let's turn from Zach to another player on offense that I want to highlight. At the beginning of the season, I think we were all, pretty devastated and deflated when Bushman went out. And we thought, wow, how is this going to affect our year? How is it going to affect our offense? And in comes Isaac Rex.
Orange County.
Out of Orange County, out of San Clemente High School. And he caught another 2 touchdowns against San Diego State on Saturday. Having an unbelievable year and really has filled a huge hole. So Greg, wanted to get your thoughts of where do you think of Isaac Rex, and where do you see him as being, in the future as one of the great all-time tight ends at BYU? For him to do what he's done in his freshman season is pretty unbelievable.
I think it's unbelievable. I don't know what his upside is yet. It looks like it's pretty high. I would certainly take Bushman over Rex right now, obviously, but he looks like he's going to be, for at least a few more years. We're pretty set at tight end. I don't know if Bushman comes back. Who knows what he's going to do, but it looks like we're pretty set at the tight end position. He did drop a couple of passes, unfortunately, in that San Diego State game. But, to have a tight end to make that catch over the shoulder for the touchdown there.
What a catch.
He seems to be able to position himself really well as a receiver, especially when he's got a safety he just seems to be like Bushman. He seems to be a very difficult mismatch.
And is he faster than Bushman?
I doubt it.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. Bushman was a receiver in high school. I saw him play, and I saw him outrun quite a few secondary players. I don't know that Rex could do that. I don't remember seeing his film, but I don't know.
Well, he has the ability, obviously, that you can't teach, right? He's a playmaker, just like Bushman and some of the other great tight ends we had. When we saw Pitta play, when he got his chance, the guy just knows how to make plays. And Rex seems to be in that mold. He knows how to get open, and he's got, for the most part, great hands. Things you can't really teach, an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah. Well, it seems like talking about a high potent offense that is Zach Wilson and the Cougars, that seems like a appropriate transition to talk about BYU's first half against Boise State in basketball. Brian, what did you think as you're all excited on a Wednesday night to take in 2 rivalry games this week, Boise State and Utah, and the Cougars look like your 4th grade son's basketball team up there in Utah?
Very disappointing start. I mean, a repeat of last year, right? I thought that we would, reverse our fortunes after last year. Man, we just could not do anything in that first half. Very slow start. I mean, it took us 8.5 minutes to score. I mean, it was brutal. The good thing, I guess the good thing is really, I mean, it was too little too late, but we really did play well in the second half.
Right.
Barcelo had another great game, 22 points. But yeah, really, really disappointing that we came out that sluggish and that just, I don't know what it was. Again, I think this team is really just learning to play with each other and Pope is still trying to figure out rotations. But the two bright spots, and we'll talk more about it, later when we talk about the Utah game, is again the play of Spencer Johnson, who was 4 for 5 in that Boise State game. He also is not only a really good shooter, but he's a great defender. And I heard Pope talking about that. That's really what has earned his time, even though he's been shooting incredibly well. He closes out very quickly. He's got great length. And then the other person, Greg, was who you were talking about last week, is Harward.
Yeah.
In that game, he was also 4 for 5, and did well in his opportunity. And then, of course, he had an unbelievable game against Utah. But really, really disappointing, especially since that game was at home. But we really played well in the second half. It was just too little, too late. I really don't know why we got off to such a slow start, but very, very disappointing, obviously.
I think I agree. I after that Boise State game, and then we had the USC game just the week before.
Yeah,
and I thought, okay, this is a little bit concerning. I mean, I know it's early, but the thing that makes a difference with this team is Mark Pope. I just feel like I have confidence in the guy. Like I haven't had a confidence in a football or basketball coach in a very long time. I'm honestly going all the way back to Lavelle. I feel like this guy knows what he's doing. He's going to make the adjustments. He may not get it right every game, but he's there's several games last year where, of course, he had a senior laden team where we came out the second half and it was a totally different game when we were behind. He seems to be able to make the X's and O's and the changes and the adjustments that usually need to be made, right? The thing with last week, if you look at the two halves again, I mean, you really out of the 4 basketball halves, you only had one bad half. It was atrocious. When I sent you guys that text, I think there was 8 minutes left in the first half and we had 5 points.
No, yeah, it was there was 8 minutes left in the second half and it was 14-5.
Yeah, that's pretty bad, right? But then we had a great second half. We had 2 very good halves against Utah. And what I see now after the Utah game is the development of kind of a little bit more of an identity because of the emergence of, I think, 3 players, right? I think that you had the emergence of Johnson, right? Yeah. Where I think he's going to be, in that rotation of 8. And then, of course, like I said, Harward all of a sudden became who I thought he was in that Utah game. Like, it's like, where was this? Where did this happen? Because again, I've seen him play at UVU. He just looked really good to me. And he was dominant. He rebounded. He didn't make a lot of the mistakes and turnovers that he was doing before. He, by the way, I mean, he doesn't take a lot of shots, but due to shooting 72% field goal percentage.
Yeah.
Right. And so he's, that's a good guy to have in there. And he's a big body. And so he's one. The second one is, who am I thinking of here?
Well, you said Johnson and then
Harward. The third one is actually Harding.
Yes.
It's like Pope has seen something in him that I hadn't seen yet. because he keeps putting him in there in the starting lineup.
Right.
So something, in practice and everywhere else, Pope obviously has a lot of confidence in him. He just hasn't been able to perform during game time. And he finally did against Utah and did really well. So if we've got those three guys, you've got maybe two bench players, maybe Harward becomes a starter again. And Lohner, of course, is emerging little by little every game. He seems to be doing a lot better. I think we're starting to get a little bit more of an identity and an emergence of the players that need to come out and help Barcelo. How many points did Barcelo have in the Utah game?
5.
5 points.
He had 5 points.
That's it.
5 points.
And we killed them. We dominated them almost the entire game.
And that was what was so great to see, is that he finally had an off game, or at least not as explosive as an offensive game, and we still dominated from basically beginning to end in that game.
Yeah.
I was going to say also Harms also had a great game, by the way, in that Boise State game. That was a real breakout game for him. He was 7 for 10 and had 18 points. So that was a real positive too, to see him get going offensively.
Yeah, you look at that. It's 14-5, and with 8 minutes left, we scored 49 points in the second half. We finished the game with 70 points, so we scored 65 points the last 28 minutes of that game. That's ridiculous, right?
That is ridiculous.
We obviously we just played awful the first 8 minutes. After that, we played really good. Look, Boise State's better than Utah too. I mean, Boise State's got that Alston guy. He might get drafted in the first round, and then they got other guys that can play. I thought Boise State just athletically were much harder to guard than Utah. So giving a kind of I bring that up to kind of give a kind of the break of, Boise State's better than Utah. They were tougher to guard. They were putting us in tougher situations. I thought even if Utah was cold a little bit, Utah went 9-28 from threes. I mean, 32%, not terrible, but I just thought we made them work harder for shots, but I also thought they were easier to guard. And Boise State was just more athletic. And as we know, we have trouble stopping athletic teams off the bounce and penetration and things like that. I thought Johnson was huge. And like Brian said, his defense, I love that. It's one thing when a guy just chucks, can shoot threes, but he doesn't guard. Johnson guards. And Harding, Pope is, one thing is because you kind of, like, for instance, George played 1 minute against Utah. So that's what I love about Pope. He other than Harding, and of course, AB goes without saying, but Harding's been the only guy that he's really kind of stuck with no matter kind of what. And the other guys, he kind of goes with the hot hand. And I love how he did that. It was Johnson and Harward, and it wasn't George's game, that game. So again, that's part of making adjustments as a coach. You feel like is in basketball, it's staying with the 5 guys out there. It's with subbing the guys that have been producing in that game. And so I thought that was crucial with the Utah game. And that's as well as we played. That stance from about midway through the first half to, midway through the second half, that was probably our best stances of basketball that I've seen us play as collectively as a team on both ends.
Well, he also started Lee against Utah, and had Lohner come off the bench. Lohner, had 8 points, was 2 for 4, not bad off the bench, and always does a great job on the boards. I mean, he had 10 boards against Utah. So,
right.
I have no doubt that Lohner is he's gonna be a star at BYU. I mean, he hasn't quite found it offensively yet. He's shown flashes, but the guy can play defense. He can rebound. No question about that.
Here's another thing that's really interesting about that Utah game. That I think probably the second most interesting thing outside of Barcelo only scoring 5 points and us doing so well Guess who had the second fewest minutes out of
The starters.
10 people to play?
Everett.
Yes.
Yeah, Everett.
Averett. Not a lot less. He had
minutes.
17. You've got 3 players here with 18.
Right.
Yeah.
But he only played 17 minutes.
Yeah.
You've got as far as guards, wings, you've got Harding at 26, Barcelo 33, count George 1, but Johnson played.
Nell got 18 minutes.
Yeah, Nell got 18 minutes, and Johnson played 27. That's very different from any other game,
right,
that we've played, and yet it's probably our best game, wouldn't you say? Against Utah.
Oh yeah, no question.
Yeah, no question.
From start to finish, our most complete game.
Yeah,
no question.
Well, San Diego State this week. Obviously, it's going to be a big ask on both ends of the court. I mean, they're going to be tough for us to guard, and then I'm very interested to see. I mean, because San Diego State's better than USC. And they guard really, really well. They're very well coached. You go back to last season, this team, they lost 1 game. So it's going to be a big ask. I'm very interested to see how we do, especially offensively, if we can generate open shots, and how we compete against them at Viejas Arena. Not having the home court crowd will help some, but that's going to be our toughest game.
Still tough to win on the road, and you're
Still
right.
Tough to win.
They're undefeated, and they've beaten 2 top 25 teams from the Pac-12. They beat UCLA and they beat Arizona State. I mean, this team is very good. Very difficult to beat on the road, as we all know in college basketball. I mean, it's so tough to win on the road. Not going to be maybe as many fans, but still, it's going to be very, very tough going. This is the best team that we've played. So it's going to be a real challenge, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Pope strategizes for this game and what kind of rotation he uses. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I think I like the fact that he scheduled the way he did in the preseason, because these games are going to be important for us as we go into league play and hopefully in the postseason. You've got to learn to play against these tough athletic teams.
It's interesting. Also, the game after that, the San Diego State plays St. Mary's, so we'll see the comparison between how we do and how they do against St. Mary's.
All right, so let's move back to football. We got a bowl invitation. We're heading to the Boca Raton Bowl. What are your reactions, guys? I mean, we knew we weren't going to get anything special after our loss to Coastal Carolina. It just wasn't going to happen. And there's less bowls this year. What's your initial reaction to playing Central Florida in the Boca Raton Bowl? Greg, we'll start out with you.
Disappointed. I don't know what else to say. I'm disappointed. I'm not going to put on my blue goggles here and try and be optimistic about what's happening. And I know that's what the team has to do, and they go out and do that. And of course I'll support them and root for them. But it's the same thing. We get in these little bowls at the end of each year. It's very frustrating. And I thought that this year, I really thought we'd be able to get like a 2nd-tier bowl.
Yeah.
I was really hoping to get like a 2nd-tier bowl, and not happening.
Yeah, if you would have told me that we would be playing our bowl game before the NBA season started, I would be disappointed. And lo and behold, we are. We're playing before Christmas and before LeBron on Tuesday night laces them up. So I'm really sad. I saw Coastal. I think right now with the college football show, we probably, if we win that game, we're probably ranked 12th, maybe 11th over Indiana, but I don't know. I mean, they've got a couple impressive wins to the committee, so we would have been qualified. It would have been interesting to see at least what would have happened. But then again, if we would have been undefeated and they didn't get us to a New Year's Six game, that would have been tough to handle too. So I honestly, I'm excited to watch Zach. I'm excited to watch, but I'm going to be bummed. It's going to be very sad that that's our last game to watch him play. So that'll be definitely bittersweet. But I think it is important to win to solidify this season and avoid not a pleasant loss to a 6-3 UCF squad.
Well, here's my thoughts. I think this game is very dangerous. I was really happy to see BYU rebound and beat San Diego State in a very, grinded out type game. We talked about how good Zach was, but this UCF team, I think, is dangerous because they barely lost to Cincinnati.
Right.
They lost to Memphis by 1. They barely lost to Tulsa. Those are all, pretty good teams, especially obviously Cincinnati. And the quarterback that we're going against is very good. He's got comparable numbers to Zach. He's only a sophomore. He's very athletic. Just as a whole, this UCF team is very athletic, a lot of speed. I know it's disappointing, but it's really going to be disappointing if we lose this game. And I think this is a dangerous team to go be playing in Florida. I hope we're prepared for it because it will really be a downer if we lose this game, but yet I think this is a good team that we're playing. So what do you guys think? What are your thoughts?
I think it's a good game. I just don't know that there's a win out of this. I mean, the win out of this is if we can, like Brett says, if we can watch Zach play again, right? And hopefully do well. And it's going to be his last game with us. So that is exciting. I'll be excited to watch him play. Outside of that, I feel like the chances of me not being frustrated about our defense are pretty slim. And who knows? I mean, maybe we roll all over them, and maybe it works that way. I'm concerned, like you are, Brian, about the win. I think it is a very good team. And he's the type of quarterback that we historically have had, trouble with. I mean, the guy can throw, but he can also run. Yeah.
He's a very athletic quarterback. He's the kind of guy that has killed us in the past.
Well, again, I think that if we can control the line of scrimmage, we win the game. I just don't know that we can. And if they run for 100 yards in the first half, I think we're in trouble.
Well, and remember too, their coach is Josh Heupel, the guy that won the national championship for Oklahoma, and Bob Stoops.
Yep.
And he's a great, he was a very successful offensive coordinator for many years and been a successful head coach. And he's good. And so they scare me, that quarterback and their head coach with, they're going to be up for this game. I think that's the thing, is that they'll be up to play us. Like you said, they're staying in state, and then they get to play a BYU team that's gotten a lot of publicity and against a quarterback that's gotten a lot of publicity. And, I think they'll be up for it. And I think Heupel, he'll have stuff in store for us. So I hope we're ready. I hope, like you said, defensively, I hope we just, as always, bend but don't break.
Well, on a side note, this quarterback's dad was the Hawaii quarterback that beat Detmer in both his junior and senior year. If you remember, right after he won the Heisman, we went out and played Hawaii, and they killed us.
Well, Detmer threw 6 interceptions.
Yeah, and they killed us again the next year. They scored 50-something points in both those games. But Yeah, this Central Florida team was not far off from being a 9-0 team. I mean, those 3 losses were very close. So it'll be interesting. I'm really
what is the line going to be?
Great question. I'll say,
How many times has BYU won in the state of Florida?
I can't think of one.
you know,
I think we've won once. I think it's once.
So figure out. I think when they played, and they played them at home, when they played Cincinnati, the line was like 6 or 6.5. Cincinnati. So I think it'll be BYU, maybe BYU -4, -4.5. I would be shocked if we're favored by a touchdown. I think it might even just be, it could be a field goal, but my guess, I'd say BYU -4.
Yeah,
probably a pretty good guess.
I think it's 3 or 4. All right, guys.
Well, big week. Dad would always, every time he'd say, we could go to that concierge lounge, get drinks.
No, he wouldn't say we could go. He'd drop his suitcase off and he'd go there immediately.
Stock up.
Absolutely.
He'd go grab about 12 Diet Cokes.
No, but
if he didn't have them, he'd make the gal inside there speaking Spanish to go get some more of them. And then he'd load them all up into the room.
But every time he would let you know, that because he's Marriott Elite, he can go to that concierge lounge, and that's why you're getting those cookies and Diet Pepsi.
And he's like, no, you know how much I've been, spent with Marriott.
You know how many dollars Marriott has of mine?
No, we'd go and we just take, there'd be people there, it's like having their little thing, their little drink. He'd have like 6 of those Diet Pepsis or Diet Cokes, just take it back to the room.
Here, Brett, you want some of these pretzels too? Grab some of these.
Yeah. Classic. Well, yeah, that'll be fun.
All right,
guys.
Have a good night.
Have a great week.
Love you.
See ya.
See ya.